General Hospital spoilers for Wednesday, April 23 tease that Laura finally stands up for herself, and this time, it's not just a fleeting moment of defiance, but a turning point for who she is. Her place in Port Charles, and especially her fractured relationship with Ezra. For a long time, Laura chose to endure, to believe in the goodness still lingering within Ezra. A man who had once been an essential part of her life, a shadow she fought to hold on to. But now, as Ezra's escalating chaos spins beyond control, Laura finds herself with no choice but to confront it all, not just Ezra, but her own fears and limitations. Ezra has crossed every line. Reckless decisions, shady actions. Secrets buried in the dark, all are surfacing, bringing with them devastating consequences. Laura, who once tried to seek compromise and understanding, must now accept that Ezra is no longer someone she can trust, he's a threat. And from that realization, Laura begins to change. No more backing down. No more silence. No more waiting for someone else to act on her behalf. Laura's rise begins at the height of chaos, when everything seems to be falling apart. When Ezra becomes entangled in dangerous schemes and hidden ties to forces Port Charles has never faced. In this moment, Laura enters the battle not just as a betrayed woman, but as a symbol of survival. She's not only protecting herself, but also the truth, her loved ones, and an entire community at risk of being swept up in Ezra's ambition. The confrontation between Laura and Ezra becomes a new focal point of the storyline, no longer a broken romance, but a clash between two opposing forces, one who once loved, now representing reason and justice, and one who was once trusted, now a symbol of manipulation and destruction. Their conversations grow more intense than ever. Every glance is an accusation. Every silence, a new fracture. As Laura begins to investigate, to gather evidence, to piece together the truth on her own, Ezra shifts, from a man hiding secrets to one willing to attack. Doing whatever it takes to stop her from exposing him. This confrontation reshapes their already tangled story, pushing their relationship into a completely new direction. No more love. No more trust, only a brutal battle between logic and darkness. What Laura is going through is no longer just personal emotion, it's a journey of redefining who she is, her role, and the boundaries she once thought she couldn't cross. Port Charles has never seen Laura this fierce. And it has never seen Ezra so cornered, forced to unveil his true nature. Their relationship, once a foundation, is now the spark for a wild, intense, and unpredictable chain of events. And when Laura rises, not with a broken heart, but with unwavering eyes and a steady voice, the balance of power shifts completely. Laura is no longer the one being hurt. She's the one calling the end, and the story between her and Ezra is no longer a love tragedy, but the final battle to reclaim justice, honor, and her true self. Meanwhile, Carly and Jason, one of the most enduring bonds in Port Charles, are now facing unprecedented tension. The days when they were each other's anchor, understanding each other without words, seem to be fading into distant memory. Their relationship shows signs of fracture, not from a single argument, but from subtle, persistent shifts and, more importantly, choices they can no longer agree on. Jason, with his instinct to protect but often cold and relentless, is making Carly feel isolated and lost in the very relationship she once trusted completely. Carly, with her emotional responses, fierce self-defense, and unyielding nature, is becoming unpredictable in Jason's eyes, a man who craves stability and silence. But a new shock is about to hit. And it will make all the tensions between Carly and Jason seem small. Because now, all eyes are turning to Brennan, the mysterious man who once lingered in the background, now emerging as a critical part of Carly's chaotic world. The truth that Brennan carries deep obsessions, unconfessed sins, and, more dangerously, a connection to Carly, is pushing the storyline to a new, heated, breathless, and unpredictable level. Brennan isn't a stranger. He's crept into Carly's life step by step, not with seduction, but with something entirely different, obsession. There's something between them, an unclear past, an unspoken encounter, an unhealed wound or a buried act. And as Brennan starts to spiral, becoming controlling, dangerous, and impulsive, Carly, instead of running, is forced to confront him. Because Brennan is not just haunting her, he's dragging along a dark past Carly desperately wants to forget. Jason senses it. He sees Carly change, more guarded, secretive, quick to anger. And instead of demanding answers, Jason steps back, like he always does, and it's that very retreat that makes Carly feel even more alone. She needs someone to protect her. Someone willing to dive into the chaos with her, not stand on the sidelines. This disconnect isn't just about personality differences, it's a clear divide, shaped by past wounds, unspoken truths, and pain too deep to articulate. The showdown between Carly and Brennan is approaching. And when things hit the limit, when Brennan is no longer just a shadow in Carly's hallway but a real and present danger, Carly knows she can no longer stay silent. She must speak out. Even if it means Jason may never see her the same way again. But in that very moment, Jason will have to choose, stay and fight beside Carly, or walk away to preserve the perfect image he once held of her. The story of Carly, Jason, and Brennan is no longer a love triangle. It's a psychological game. A journey of peeling back layers, masks, secrets, and the darkest parts of the past. When obsession becomes truth, when the link between Carly and Brennan is fully exposed, Port Charles will witness a completely different Carly, no longer the strong woman orchestrating the chessboard, but one struggling to hold on to herself, her past, and a crumbling relationship with the only man she ever fully trusted, Jason. And when it all comes crashing down, the biggest question won't be who Carly chooses, but whether she even has the strength left to believe in anyone at all. Dante and Lulu finally sit down face to face after a long stretch of turmoil and distance, to confront the serious issues surrounding the family they once tried so hard to hold together, a family now standing at the edge of a chain of unpredictable changes. The atmosphere between them is tense but heavy with meaning. This isn't about blame or accusations anymore, this is a conversation between two people who once loved, who once lost, and who now must face new truths together, truths that could dismantle the very foundation of the family they thought they knew. At the center of it all is Gio, the child causing the biggest stir in Port Charles, as leaked information reveals that Gio is not just some abandoned or mysterious child as everyone believed, but in fact the biological son of Dante and Brooke Lynn. A heartbreaking truth, not only because it was hidden for so long, but because it happened outside the life Dante shared with Lulu. During a time of fracture neither of them thought would have such lasting consequences. For Lulu, the revelation is a shock. Not because she can't forgive Dante, but because it shakes the very idea of family she's been trying to preserve for Rocco, her and Dante's son. Gio, now an undeniable part of Dante's life, means Rocco must learn to live with a half-brother, a child born outside the love Lulu had once believed in. And this throws Lulu into a maze of worry and fear, as she quietly wonders, will Dante's love for Rocco change? Will Rocco feel abandoned? Can a patched-up family ever really function normally? Meanwhile, Dante is grappling with his own complex emotions. He doesn't deny his responsibility to Gio, and deep within, there's a strange love forming, not yet fully developed, but growing with every day he spends with the boy. But Dante is also painfully aware of the cost, that every adjustment he makes to bring Gio into his life could hurt Rocco. And this is what makes his conversation with Lulu more urgent than ever. They need to decide on a path forward, not just for themselves, but for the future of two innocent children caught in the whirlwind of adult choices and emotions. However, just as they begin to search for common ground, a new twist sends everything spiraling further. Rocco is beginning to react, in ways no one expected. Behavioral changes, subtle rebellion, sudden coldness. Eyes filled with suspicion, all signs that he's starting to feel his world is no longer whole. Rocco doesn't question with words, but with distance. He pulls away from Dante, grows distant from Lulu. And worst of all, begins to see Gio as an intruder, a disruption to everything he thought was his alone. Dante is heartbroken. Lulu is terrified. And both understand. If they don't act quickly, if they don't rebuild everything from scratch with complete honesty, not just one, but both children could end up emotionally lost for good. What began as a conversation to resolve the issue turns into a brutal psychological battle, between what's right and what's necessary, between love and forgiveness, between the past and the present. The story of Dante, Lulu, Gio, and Rocco is no longer just a tale of a broken family. It becomes a microcosm of Port Charles itself, a place where every choice has a price, and every hidden truth waits for the moment it explodes. For Gio, an innocent soul longing for love. For Rocco, a fragile heart desperate to hold on to what once felt whole. And for Dante and Lulu, two people who lost each other, now forced to reunite not for love, but for the future of the children. Every decision moving forward will be the ultimate test of the family they once fought to protect. Drew had a reaction so unexpected. Willow could hardly believe what she was seeing. She had hoped that there was still a trace of reason between them, a bit of tenderness. Something left from the foundation they had built together after so many storms. But instead of empathy and working together toward a shared future, Drew revealed a completely different side, one of alarming control and an unwavering determination that went beyond understanding. Willow didn't come to argue. She came to talk. To figure out how to co-parent Wiley and Amelia in a different but respectful, civilized family dynamic. She still wanted to offer the children a safe environment, untouched by adult chaos. But Drew, his gaze growing colder by the minute, chose another route. He didn't yell. He didn't rage. He simply laid out a series of conditions, legal restrictions, and emotionless declarations, as if issuing commands from a contract. That changed everything. Drew was no longer the gentle man who once promised never to hurt Willow. He became the one imposing a future version of their family where she had no voice, no space to resist. He announced that he would oversee all decisions regarding the children, where Willow could take them, who they could meet, even daily routines, all would require his approval. It wasn't cooperation. It was total control. Willow was stunned. She no longer recognized the man in front of her. And in that moment, she realized something even more devastating, that Drew wasn't just trying to protect the children's best interests. He was trying to take full control of their family. He was reconstructing a home where he was the center, and Willow was reduced to a silent supporting role. This presented a new threat, a looming disaster not only to Willow and Drew's relationship, but to the emotional well-being of Wiley and Amelia. Willow was now thrust into a battle she hadn't prepared for, a fight to protect her right to be a mother, to maintain her autonomy, and more importantly, to make decisions for her and her children's lives. But her adversary wasn't an outsider. It was the very person who once stood beside her, the man she once loved. Port Charles has never seen a Drew like this. His transformation, from emotional to cold, from gentle to controlling, is shaking everyone who once trusted him. And for Willow, this is no longer about who's right or wrong. It's a battle between a mother's instinct and a powerful hand trying to reshape her reality. If Drew continues down this path, a full-blown custody battle seems inevitable. The legal fight won't just hurt Willow, it will drag Amelia and Wiley into a storm of courtrooms and confusion they don't deserve. And when that disaster finally erupts, no one will walk away unscathed. Willow knows she can't back down anymore. She must stand up, not for love, not for reconciliation, but for the survival of everything she believes is right. And when that happens, the story of Drew, as a father, a partner, a companion, will need to be rewritten. Not in promises, but in raw, painful truth. Tracy, with the composure of someone who has weathered countless power struggles, chose the perfect moment to reappear and lay a new card on the table, a proposal, cleverly disguised but carrying an unmistakable scent of danger. Her meeting with Sidwell began in silence. But every exchanged glance, every subtle undertone in their words, made it clear, this wasn't a social call. It was the beginning of a haunting alliance, a covert agreement that could reshape the entire balance of power in Port Charles. No one understands the dark side of power like Tracy. She's no longer the woman trying to preserve a dignified image. She's someone who has lost everything, been forgotten, and now, she's returned not to beg for a seat at the table, but to carve one out for herself, at any cost. And Sidwell, a rising shadow figure, is no mere mysterious businessman, he's a key piece in a dangerous network. Someone with the power to manipulate financial systems, political machinery, and even the judiciary through shady deals and underground connections. Tracy didn't come to stop Sidwell. She came to become his partner. What makes the situation even more unnerving is the bluntness of her offer. I don't want to fight you. I want to build the future with you. It sounded cooperative. But Sidwell knew, this wasn't a suggestion. It was a warning. Either shake hands with Tracy and split the power, or face off against someone who can suffocate an opponent with calculated ruthlessness and seasoned precision. What gives their exchange such an eerie intensity is that neither Tracy nor Sidwell needs trust. All they need is balance in benefits, unity in what must be hidden, and clarity on what must be destroyed if exposed. They don't speak of loyalty or emotion, they speak of outcomes, data, numbers, and the threats they can eliminate before anyone else even senses them. And that's what makes this alliance one of the most chilling and unpredictable developments in Port Charles right now. Sidwell is no fool. He knows that agreeing to work with Tracy is like inviting a tiger into the boardroom, intelligent, but ready to strike the second it senses betrayal. Yet he also knows that saying no to someone like Tracy is idiocy. She doesn't need permission to start playing, she only needs a reason to strike. And if she isn't on your side, she's guaranteed to be against you. Meanwhile, Tracy has already begun laying the groundwork for a total recalibration of Port Charles's power map. She's no longer waiting in the wings. She's making lists, pulling old connections out from the shadows, reallocating secret investments no one suspected, all to prepare for a silent, brutal takeover. And Sidwell, a man who once thought he controlled the game, is starting to realize he's invited someone to the table who doesn't play by the rules, but rewrites them mid-hand. Dangerous developments begin to unfold around them. An internal investigation quietly buried. A series of legal documents mysteriously misplaced from the mayor's office. Key figures suddenly reassigned. Community funds restructured with names linked to Tracy. All signs that the game has begun, and Sidwell, rather than pulling the strings, is now caught in a web where he no longer knows who's really in control. The scariest part isn't what they're doing, it's how they're doing it, coldly, silently, without leaving a trace. Both Sidwell and Tracy know that in this war, emotion is a luxury, and mercy, a fatal weakness. They haven't allied because they trust each other. They've allied because they're equally dangerous, and in a world of predators, the only way to survive is to eat, or be eaten. And as Port Charles begins to feel the tremors of unnamed shifts, when everything starts to feel off, when alliances unravel and new power players emerge from nowhere, that will be the moment the Tracy-Sidwell alliance has already taken root at the very heart of power. And from there, nothing will ever be the same again.